لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا فصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى كما ورد في سورة البقرة ويسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل العفو. فقال عز وجل كما ورد في سورة الحشر كي لا يكون دولة بين الأغنياء منكم صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم ربنا ألهمنا رشدنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Dear brothers and sisters and sons and daughters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Continuing our discussion about the politico-socio-economic structure of the society under Caliphate. Now we come to the economic system. This is quite a tricky subject. And let me make a statement that the real beauty and the essential beauty of the economic system of Islam or the economic system under Caliphate lies in the fact that there are two economic systems of Islam, not one. It might appear to be a very strange statement. As I have discussed in detail, there are three levels according to that famous hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam, which is called Sunnah. That hadith occupies in the whole collection of ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the same position which Surah Fatiha occupies in the Quran. Surah Al-Fatiha, Quran. Hadith of Jibreel, Sunnah. And that hadith gives us, there are three levels. Islam, lowest. Go higher up, Iman. Go still higher up, Ihsan. Wamal Ihsan, Akhbirni anil Ihsan. The answer was, An ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tarahu, fa'in lam takun tarahu, fa'innahu yarak. When Iman reaches, the intensity and depth of Iman reaches that level, that as if the man is seeing Allah with his own eyes, or he is feeling that he is in the presence of Allah, Allah is seeing him, then this state is called Ihsan. So there are two levels of economic teachings of the Quran. One is at the level of Ihsan, the other is at the level of Islam. There are four cardinal principles of economic system at the level of Ihsan. First and foremost, you own nothing. The owner of everything is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's again the necessary corollary of the principle of Tawheed. Just as negation of human sovereignty, and instead of sovereignty for the humans it is vicegerency, not sovereignty. In the same manner, in the same way, negation of the principle of human ownership. In place of ownership, it is amana. You are custodians. Whatever you have, it's a sacred trust with you. You don't own anything. You can't own anything. You don't own even your head. What's the meaning of ownership? I own it, I can use it as I like. No. This hand of yours, these feet of yours, these eyes of yours, these ears of yours, this tongue of yours, all things have been given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the owner. You are the custodian. The very beautiful couplet from Shaykh Sadi rahmatullahi alayh. ई अमानत चंद रोजा निज़ मास्त दर हकीकत मालिके हर शय खुदास्त. In reality, owner of everything is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever we have, including our body, and everything that apparently belongs to us, is actually owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are only custodians. The cardinal principle number 2. Whatever you get in this world, although you have worked for it, the tiller of the land, he has tilled the land, he has sown the seeds, he has watered the fields, he has cut the crop, but still, whatever you get is fadl, not kasb. It is fadl from Allah. What is the difference between kasb and fadl? Kasb means earning. Fadl, something that is given to you without any right. The basic difference between ajr and ujrah. Ujrah, wages. You earn the wages by hard working. But, for example, some laborer has been employed somewhere. He has to work for 8 hours. And for example, $50 is the wage fixed. After, 8 hours work, he gets $50. But if the employer gives him another $10, it is fazl. Fazila, fazl. It's very simple. You might have worked in the factory or in the shop or in anywhere else or in the field, but whatever you get, don't think you have earned it. It is fazl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, that ayah, famous ayah of Surah Al-Jumu'ah might have come to the minds of some of you at least. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. It's only in one place in the Quran that the word kasb has been used. Otherwise, our kasb, earning is the good or the bad deeds that we are earning. لَهَا مَا كَسَبَتْ وَعَلَيْهَا مَا اكْتَسَبَتْ. Kasb is for the good or evil that you are earning. But whatever you are getting in this world, that is fadl, not kasb. Cardinal principle number 3. Out of this fadl, your rightful share is only that fulfills your needs. Not more than that. Your basic needs. That is the only rightful share you can use. And the corollary, that is the 4th principle, whatever is surplus, it is actually the share of the others that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in your share to test you. Whether you keep it in your custody, you take the pride of owning it, or you give away to the real owners. فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. Whatever is surplus is the haqq of the persons who are mahroom, the deprived ones. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has included it in your fadl for you, to test you. That is why when the question was asked from the Prophet, how much should we spend? Anfiqu, 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 anfiqu. Repeated 100 times. Spend for the cause of Allah. Spend for the pleasure of Allah. How much are we expected to spend? What was the answer? يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ قُلِ الْعَفْوَ. Whatever is surplus, give it away. It doesn't belong to you. Actually, it belongs to the deprived people. Now you summarize. What's the result? At the spiritual level, at the level of ihsan, the economic teachings of Islam or Quran give us the highest form of spiritual and voluntary socialism. It's spiritual, not mandatory, not legal. You're not bound to do it. It's voluntary. It's the highest form of spiritual socialism. And mind you, the Prophet ﷺ led his life at this level. Did he retain anything? The things will be very clear if I ask you a question. Did Muhammad ﷺ ever paid zakah? Did he? Why don't you answer? No. He didn't retain anything with him. The zakah is to be paid only when you retain something with you. And it is about the level of nisab. Then you are required to pay zakah. One of the pillars of Islam. This will make the issue very clear. And many of the Sahaba, whom we call fuqara wa Sahaba, Abu Zar, for example, at the top of them, they retained nothing. They owned nothing. They lived at this level. An incident happened during the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once after the Salah of Fajr, the Prophet, hastily went to his house, to his hujra, going over the sufuf, the lines. The Muslims were astonished. What has happened? Maybe he has some, trouble. When he returned, he was asked, what was the matter? He said, last night, a small piece of gold came to me, and I forgot to distribute it. Now, during the Fajr prayers, I realized what I've done. I kept that gold for one night with me in the house of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I couldn't afford to waste another moment. The first thing that I did, I went straight to my house, gave her. That is the level. Is it clear now? And please remember, many of the Sufiya, most of the Sufiya, they led their lives at this level. You can only understand why, thousands of people embraced Islam at the hands of Mu'inuddin Ajmeri rahimahullah. He was leading life at this level. An Islamic society, although, at this level, only a microscopic minority can be there at this level. But they are the pace setters. Because they are loved by the masses. So they set the values in the society. That people love Mu'inuddin Ajmeri, not the king. People love this faqir, not the wealthy, the billionaire. And this thing, it sets the pace. It sets the values in the society. So this is the level of ihsan, and I have given you. These are all corollaries of Tawheed. You own nothing. Everything is owned by Allah. You are custodians. Whatever you get, it's fazl of Allah, not what you're earning. If you think I have earned it, I own it, then I can use it as I like. That is the philosophy of Qarun. Utituhu ala ilmin indi. I have earned and accumulated this wealth by dint of my labor, hard work, my knowledge, my understanding, my planning. All these things. This wealth of mine is the result of these things. So you become Qarun. If you claim sovereignty, you become Fir'aun. If you claim ownership, you become Qarun. You have vicegerency in place of sovereignty. You have amana, sacred trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am a trustee, not the owner. That much should suffice for this level. But as I told you, only a microscopic minority can lead life at this level. Not all the Sahaba were at that level. Only Fuqara, Abu Darda, Abu Zar, all the Sahaba who were there in the Sufa. These were the people. They were leading lives at that level. Even and top of most, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But now we come to the legal level of Islam. What are the economic teachings of Islam or Quran at the legal level, the level of Islam? To make things easy, a welfare state based on the principles of capitalist economy. You take away three things from it and it becomes Islamic economy. You know, it has become a very beautiful way. I said, to any democratic order you add three things. And to any capitalistic economy whose aim is welfare of the people, of the citizens, you take out from these three things and it becomes Islamic economy at the legal level. You know, there is very euphoria, great euphoria in this part of the world. Our system has triumphed. Socialism failed, communism failed. History has decided that our principles are correct. And the failure of communism was due to negation of private ownership. It lacked personal incentive. Why should I work more when I cannot get more? So the principle of capitalistic economy, let me enumerate. Private ownership of not only of the articles of use, but also of the means of production. At the legal level, Islam accepts it. You can own a house, you can own a car. These are articles of use. You can own a factory, you can own a shop, you can own a field. Number two, personal incentive. If you work hard, you produce more, you earn more, you retain it. It belongs to you. Not that whether you are working hard or you are not working, you are to get the fixed wage. Then why to work hard? That was the basic failure of communism. The incentive was not there. The wheat growing area was greater than the United States. But they had to import wheat from the United States. Why? Why should the farmer work more, work harder? Why? He will not have any share of the extra produce. So personal incentive retained in Islamic system. Open competition. Come, work harder, put in extra working hours, work at night also. You can get more. You can go ahead. Finally, market economy, demand and supply. Let the demand and supply determine the prices. No artificial controls. And the principle of hire and fire. If you want to apply a person, if he works to your satisfaction, then you retain him. If he is not working to your satisfaction, you can fire him. Simple. All these cardinal principles of capitalistic economy are retained in the Islamic economic system at the legal level. But you have to take out three things. Subtract three things from it. Now, what are those three things? First of all, the worst thing, the biggest haram in Islam, that is riba. And riba includes usury and commercial interest. Gone are the days when there were scholars, Muslim scholars, distinguishing between usury and commercial interest, and saying that only usury is riba and commercial interest or bank interest is not riba. Gone are the days. Now there's consensus. Both are equally haram, there's no doubt about it. And here, please let me mention again, it's a very big achievement in Pakistan. The Federal Sharia Court decided finally, after hearing to all the big intellectuals who had the opinion that bank interest or commercial interest is not riba, they gave them all the hearing, but finally the court gave the verdict, no. It's a very big document. And after the objective resolution at the political level, this is the biggest landmark in Pakistan's history at the economic level. Although the objective resolution is also defunct, but it is there. Theoretically, it is there. It states clearly that sovereignty belongs to Allah, not to us. We don't claim sovereignty. And the Federal Sharia Court has given the judgment that riba includes usury as well as bank interest or commercial interest. And this is nothing in Islam is more haram than this. Because Quran says, if you don't give it up, فَاذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Then there is an ultimatum from Allah and His Messenger against you. Be prepared to go to war against Allah and His Messenger. And what did the Prophet say? I usually hesitate to quote this hadith, but I have to quote the hadith, so that you have an understanding of the ratio and proportion. This is from Sunan Ibn Majah, rahimahullah. The Prophet has been reported to have said, Ar-riba sab'una huban. This sin of riba has 70 parts. There are big parts, there are small parts. Aisaruha, and the smallest among those 70 parts, it is equal to what? It is equal to committing adultery with one's own mother. Till such time that the rule of Pope was there, Catholicism was strong enough, interest was prohibited throughout the Europe. Not allowed. It was the ingenuity, the intelligence, the planning, the intriguing capacity of the Jews. They infiltrated the Christian world through Protestants in the name of liberalism. They brought sexual corruption in the society. They corrupted the social order, the ethical values, the family system destroyed. And on the other hand, they got the permission of banking. Before that, it was haram, prohibited. And even in the law of Moses, it is haram. It is haram. A Jew will never charge interest from a Jew, because their philosophy is that the Gentiles, the Goyim, the non-Jews, they are like animals. We can root them, we can plunder them, we can eat them, we can drink their blood, because they are not human beings. This is their philosophy. Gentiles, Goyim. It's our right to deceive them, to exploit them, to cheat them, to rob them. This is their philosophy. If you don't know it, I wonder. It's open. Quran says, quoted them. لَيْسَ عَلَيْنَا فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ سَبِيلٌ. We will not be brought to the book about these Ummiyin. We can do anything we like to them. And this is their, creed. Just like zakah, 2.5%. Kharaji, 50% will go to the Baitul Mal. And what's the difference between the two? Those people who accepted Islam without fighting, without resisting, their lands remained their personal properties. Just as the people of Medina. Medina was not conquered by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They accepted Islam and they brought Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Medina. So their lands, Medina lands, they were ushri. And Muslims owned them. They had to pay ushr or nisfu ushr. But all the lands which have ever been conquered by force, after war, after fighting, all the lands are not owned by any single person. They belong to the Ummah for the collective benefit of the whole of the Ummah. That was the basic ijtihad of Hazrat Umar. And the ijtihad during the period of Khilafat Rashida, it is called ijma', consensus. Because the whole Ummah was one. There were no schools of fiqh. The whole Muslim land was under one rule, under one control. So ijma', which is binding according to the fuqaha, it is binding. After the book of Allah, after the sunnah of the Prophet, the ijma' of the Khilafat Rashida, that is also binding. Now this is the background, So to finish up with feudalism. And number two, even the ushri lands. Now, for example, if a person owns a very big chunk of the land, he has to cultivate it himself or employing, servants. There is a division of opinion among the jurists whether he can have the sharecropping or crop sharing, what you call it. Land belongs to a person, the other one is tilling it, and the crop is divided between the two. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, haram. Imam Malik, haram. But the fatwa, of two disciples of Imam Abu Hanifa, that is Qazi Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad, they said no, it can be halal if such conditions are applied. The seed should be provided by the owner of the land and so on and so on. But it is not agreed upon. According to Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, it is haram mutlaq. According to Imam Malik, it is haram mutlaq. According to Imam Shafi, in open field it is haram, but if there is agriculture in a garden, then it can be done. It is permissible. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says it is permissible, as Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad say. But it is not agreed upon. Let me here quote, two couplets from Allama Iqbal. Khuda aam illate ra sarwari daad ke taqdeerash badaste khesh bin washt baa qawme sarokare na darad ke dahqanash baraye digra kasht. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives honor and glory to those people who write their own destiny by their own hands, work with their own hands. And with such a nation, the farmer of that nation, if he is cultivating for the landlord, the labor is his. And the lion's share going to the landlord, sitting in air-conditioned bungalows, passing their summers in Europe, because they are the landowners, they are the feudals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has nothing to do with them. खुदा आम मिल्लत रा सरवरी दाद के तकदीरश बदस्ते खेश बिन वश्त बां कौमे सरोकारे नदारद के दहकानश बराए दीगरा कश. The farmer is tilling the land for others. They are having luxuries, while the actual blood and sweat of the tiller of the land, of the farmer, that has produced this crop. So take these three things out and now retain all the principles of capitalistic economy, which will be Islamic economic system at the legal level. But you have to add one thing, and that one thing has been added to the capitalistic system also. The social insurance, the collective insurance, the welfare allowance, the unemployment allowance. The capitalism has to rectify itself. They call it internal management of capitalism. Because if you don't feed the hungry, they will kill you. So give them something to sustain. So even the capitalistic systems have to do it. And give the devil their due, devils their due. This welfare concept, welfare state, welfare democracy, social democracy has reached its zenith in the Scandinavian socialism. They have been able to join democratic principles with the socialist ideas and ideals. That's the highest level. In Islam, what is the basis? Zakah. What is zakah? When there is open competition, I told you, the inevitable result will be some will go ahead of others who will remain behind. Some are more talented, some can work more, some have more capacity to work, some have less. So if there is open competition, there is going to be a difference. You have to bridge this gap by a system of feedback. Islam fixes a level. Whosoever owns 7 tolas of gold, I don't know what it comes to in grams, I can't say. Well, he is above that level. He is now donor. Whosoever doesn't have this much of gold, he is the recipient. Whosoever owns 52 tolas of silver, he is the donor. He will pay back. Those who are below that level, they are the recipients. تُوخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ تُرَدُّ إِلَىٰ فُقَرَائِهِمْ. It's a feedback, something to be charged from those who have crossed that level of nisab and to be distributed among those who have remained behind that level, below that level. So that is the biggest form of social insurance that the system of caliphate, for the first time in history, the principle was initiated. And initiated by Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala, when he said, even if a dog dies of hunger on the banks of Dajla or Furat, Umar will be responsible on the day of judgment. The state, the caliphate, takes the responsibility of every citizen. Not only Muslims, also non-Muslims. Although to the non-Muslims, nothing will be given from zakah. A fund will be there from their jizya. It happened once. Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala was on a tour of some provincial capital. He found a Majusi in Irani, non-Muslim. He was begging in the streets of that city. Hazrat Umar asked the governor, what's this? He said he had grown old, he can't earn his livelihood. He said, this is wrong. When he was young, he was earning. You are charging jizya from him. And you have now left him begging here. No, that's the responsibility. Whether he is the second-rate citizen or the first-rate citizen of the state, but he is the citizen of the state. Even animals, even if a dog dies of hunger, Umar will be responsible. To what to speak of men, human beings. And for that, zakah. Now what's the difference, Here in Western economies, you have taxes. And tax evasion is a rule. There are experts who will advise you how to avoid. They'll charge you very big fees to advise you within legal, frame, how to avoid. But zakat, that is ibadah, every Muslim will pay it. It's the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not a tax. Jizya is a tax. Zakah is not a tax, it's a pillar of Islam. Number two, its calculation is very easy. It is calculated on the basis of the total. It has no connection with the income. You might have earned more during the year, or you might have lost. But if you remain above that level of nisab, you have to pay anyhow. If your capital was last year when you drew your balance sheet, you were, for example, at 5 million. During the year, you have lost 2 million. Now you have only 3 million. You have to pay on 3 million. Even if it was 1 million, you have to pay on 1 million. You have to pay. Only if you drop below the level of nisab, then you are exempted. Then you become recipient. Then you can receive. So this is the zakah, and this is the basis of the welfare state that Islam established for the first time under the Caliphate. Now let me tell you, there's a difference. As I told you, lands are kharaji and then ushri. In the same way, regarding zakah, the wealth is divisible into two types. Amwale batni, amwale zahiri. Amwale batni, hidden wealth. You have some ornaments, some gold, some cash, you are keeping at home. Islamic State will not send people to search, your home and your suitcases. It's up to you, left up to you. You pay the zakah, it's the due from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can pay it to the state, to the system of caliphate, or you can pay it distributed yourself. Amwale zahiri, the apparent wealth which is there before you. The trade goods, the merchandise, the factory. Among the factory, factories and mills, land will be exempted, building will be exempted, machinery will be exempted, tools will be exempted. But the capital which is running, the raw material, calculate the value of the raw material and calculate the value of the finished product. Pay 2.5% on the top. Such a big and huge amount will be collected that you can guarantee welfare, social welfare of each and every individual. Basic necessities, food, shelter, dress, basic necessities. They can be guaranteed, and they will be guaranteed in the system of caliphate on the basis of this zakah. I intended to complete both, the economic system as well as the social system, but I have not been able to finish with the economic system even. Now in the end, let me make a remark. I don't claim expertise in economic or financial or fiscal or monetary matters. I've never been a student of economics. I'm not an expert in finance and monetary matters. But I'm a fundamentalist, as I told you. I know the fundamentals of Islam. And you have to stick to them. Riba is haram. That has to be eliminated. Come what may. Gambling is haram. That has to be eliminated. Come what may. That you have to do. And where there's a will, there's a way. If you stop these things, the capital will not remain inert, because if it remains inert, it will melt away. It has to flow in the halal channels of shiraka, musharaka, mudaraba. But if you keep this channel open, then water will always flow towards, the lower level, where there's no risk. Why should I take the risk? But if that channel, that side closed, then what the capital will do? It can't sit idle. It will melt away. By force, it will go in the channels of musharaka and mudarba. And I think I will have to take a few minutes tomorrow to explain these two things, so that this system, economic system of Islam, as far as I have understood, I share with you. Then we shall proceed to the social system. What are our social values? What's the concept of social evils that are to be eradicated in this system of caliphate? What are the concept of social values that have to be promoted under the system of caliphate? Let me say in the end, the system of caliphate is a politico-socio-economic order. It's an organic whole, indivisible. Take it or leave it. Either you accept it in toto or you go away. Allah doesn't need you, you need Him. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.